Hi, welcome to this week's Authors Love Readers podcast, where we delve into the stories behind the stories. We're asking authors questions, some of them fun, some of them serious, and from their answers, you're going to learn things you never knew about the people who write the stories you love. My name is Patricia McLinn. I'm your host and designated question asker.
I'm Gaddy, and I'm an author who loves readers.
Now, let's start the show. Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Authors Love Readers podcast. I have with me this week Gaddy, and I was trying to think of how long we have known each other. I think it is sort of lost in the mists of time, at least for me. We've known each other a long time through writing for Harlequin/Silhouette and through the Romance Writers of America. So it's got to be 20 years?
20 years at least, I would think.
Yes. And now also through Novellas Inc., as many of our listeners know, that tends to be a recurring theme. So, Eve, tell us a little bit tell the listeners what you write.
I write a little of everything. I write mostly contemporary romance and contemporary romantic suspense. Recently, it's been more just romance, but although I do have some romantic suspense coming out. And then I wrote one big romantic suspense and one, I call it my kitchen sink book because it's... Well, it's got everything. It's got it's set in 3 time periods, and it's a reincarnation interracial romance set in 3 time periods. So,
and what's the title of that?
Cry Love.
CRY.
CRY. Love.
Okay, Cry Love.
Taken from a John Hyatt song.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I think readers sometimes are. Taken aback by the terminology that writers use, and I think we're pegged into it by the business side, especially in the old business model with traditional publishers, where you had to be in a certain place in stores. So, like even there wasn't a place for romantic suspense. You either had to be romance, you were shelved with romance, or you were shelved with thrillers. Can you, in a second, encapsulate for the readers the difference between, like you said, romance, you said romantic suspense, then you said a big romantic suspense. So if any readers are not familiar with romantic suspense, what are the essentials of romantic suspense to you?
Well, I think that it's where the romance and the suspense are equal parts. Like one feeds the other. You don't have much of a book without one or the other. And it kind of depends if it's, I'd say my big book because it's longer and more complicated. And some of my shorter ones are, not as much suspense, but there's definitely suspense. So, but I think, to me, a perfect romantic suspense is one that each builds on the other. If you don't have romance, you don't have it. And if you don't have suspense, you don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Another question I have is, when you start a book, when you first have an idea, are you clear from the beginning that it's going to be either a romance with no suspense or a romantic suspense?
Sometimes.
Okay. Well, before we get really deep into the writing, because we can come back to that again, but I'll let you think about that a little bit. Let's let the listeners get to know you, just for some fun stuff. And I want to start, did you have a song when you were, high school, college, in there, and you had a song that you thought really defined you or spoke to you?
Well, it doesn't really define me, but I guess it's one of my very favorite songs of all time, and that's Layla by Eric Clapton. And it's the original rock and roll version. And I've told my children multiple times until they probably want to scream that I want that played at my funeral. I will
Ah.
hunt them if they don't. So, yeah. So that's that. And no, does it, it doesn't mean anything for my life or anything. I just love the song.
Well, but then that kind of weaves into your life, I think, when you really love a song like that.
Yeah.
Shows
Well,
up
I
during.
love music, and it's very important to me in my writing as well.
How?
Well, if I don't have a playlist for that particular book, it's much harder. And I can't listen to the playlist while I'm writing because I get too distracted. But I listen to it at other times, like before and in the car and things like that. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I listen to the song Cry Love. A zillion. Oh, one of the songs is Passengers Let Her Go. I don't know if you've heard that, but um, that's one of the songs for my current book. So anyway, I forgot where we were.
Well, we were talking about music and songs, and do you ever find that your playlist evolves as you're writing the book?
Yes, definitely.
Mm.
Sometimes, I'll be listening to the radio or something and I'll hear a song and I'll go, oh my God, that's perfect for the book.
Mm-hmm. Do you refer to them in the book, or is this more kind of getting you in the mode and in the mood?
Oh, it's mostly getting me in the mood and the mode, but sometimes I do refer to them. I refer to songs in the books. It isn't always one of those songs, but
Mm-hmm.
probably at least a fourth of the time it is.
I have two songs that Hal Ketchum has sung
Oh,
that
I love
have led to books. One is that, and then the book has the title is "Where Love Lives,"
Uh-huh.
and the other one I'm trying to remember the title of. But it's the singer has always loved this girl, but she married his friend, and now the friend is coming to the singer saying, this isn't what I thought it would be, and and the singer's like, I'd take her in a heartbeat. So, and that became the backstory for my book, At the Heart's Command. And when you talked about listening to it so many times in the car, I thought about I got to the point my dog would poke me in the back because I was like, that one again.
I know. I know. Please, no.
Yeah,
yeah.
I knew kids would do that. People would do that. I had no idea that a dog would get sick of a song. But yes.
Oh, that's funny.
So and so we sort of segued. Now, do you have of all these songs that you're listening to now? Do you have any that, or one that means a whole lot to you beyond an individual book?
Beyond an individual book. Uh, hmm. No, not a particular one. I mean,
Okay.
I like so many.
So they're associated with the books, yeah.
Well, but not all of them. I mean, I have very eclectic musical tastes. I like a little bit of everything. One of my books had The Monster by Eminem, which is rap. And I don't as a rule like rap, but I really like that song. And it's got Rihanna singing it too. And it's really interesting. And, I don't care for jazz. My husband loves it. And I was thinking the other day, please don't play any more jazz. I'm so sick. I like a little bit of it, but not the things he likes. But I just think music. I don't know what it just talks to me and all the time, and I do. I love to hear different things, and people will tell me different ones. I do a little song of the day thing that I post on Twitter and Facebook and some other places. And so I've gotten a lot of new music, new to me anyway. So
Oh, that's cool. That's a great one. I tend to really like the words in music, which is why I cannot write with music with words because I will type the words. So I need to have instrumental, and I tend to do classical. And
yeah,
I put
classic.
so you don't write with music at all?
Not usually.
Mm.
Because if it's classical and it's or instrumental, I get distracted by that too. I very much problems with getting distracted. So
Ah,
um, humming and I'm thinking about the song instead of the book. So I usually listen to music before and after and in between and all that.
okay. Okay. Well, let's get hit you with some easier ones. Like, what's your favorite color?
Blue,
A specific shade of blue, or and
all blue,
is
any blue.
why?
I just think it's pretty. I mean, I don't have a
You don't have
deep reason.
particular associations with it, or
I think it's calming to me. Well, most of it. I mean, there's some that bright blue and everything. I don't guess is really calming, but I just think it's a pretty color.
okay. And has that
It's just
always been your favorite color, or has it changed over your life?
always
Ah, okay. You're loyal. How about a favorite taste?
taste. Chocolate.
Mm,
Any
good choice.
well,
No, well, so dark chocolate or white chocolate, milk chocolate, which would be your okay?
and kind of recently, unfortunately, discovered milk chocolate with caramel center.
Oh,
Oh, that Ghirardelli. They have these chocolates. Oh my God, they're so good. I mean, I can't buy those because they're gone in an instant, and there's way too many of them to be gone in an instant. Believe me.
there's a company called Fannie Mae that's a Chicago chocolate maker, and so it's sort of a family tradition. My mom's family is from Chicago area, and they have something called Pixies that are chocolate on the outside, caramel and nuts on the inside.
Ooh.
Oh, they are wonderful. And they make them both dark chocolate now and milk chocolate. Pixies are one of the wonders of the world.
Never
I
had one.
love those, yes. So, do you have any strong fears? And do you use fears in your books?
Well, I don't really like heights anymore. They didn't used to bother me, but I have some rather funny stories about that. I when I ski, if I'm on a chairlift, I have to look straight ahead because I if I look down, it freaks me out.
Well, and I'm going to reveal something here. Eve is height challenged. so, so if you're, I was thinking of you being on a ski chair and you're up there higher. I'm pretty tall, so I can see where that would concern you.
Well, it's the height. Like I thought I was okay, and then we went to it was been a long time now. But when our my kids were little, my husband and I took them to the East Texas Fair, which is a sort of an interesting thing. And they had those rides, like they have at the Midway and all.
Yeah.
And so we got on, I think it was the octopus or something, and I started freaking out when it got high. And so my husband's waving at him, and they have to stop each one when they go around,
Uh-huh.
and they stop each one and let people out. They skipped us. And I'm going, get me off of here. And my husband's like, oh my God. So humiliated.
And
So,
have you ever used that in a book?
no, I haven't. I've used a lot of experiences and friends' experiences and stuff, but not that. That would be. I should write that down.
Okay, friends' experiences, though. Has that ever gotten you in trouble?
Mm, no, because it's not. If it's something about a friend's experience, nobody knows who that is.
Well, except the friend does. I think I've told on the podcast before. I had a friend telling me about a just horrible first date, just horrible things happening, and she's telling me this. I wasn't consciously thinking anything, but she suddenly said, "Don't you dare! Don't you dare use that in a book." I see that look in your face. And I
Also,
got to admit, I was sort of thinking I could use this in a book someday. So,
some of the most terrible ones. My friends that I've talked to about it actually knew that it was for a book. That I wanted. I was just. I don't know how we got started talking about it because they were not subjects that you generally talk about. But you know, uh,
so you had their permission.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not like I say, oh, so and so told me this. You know,
I think it's good for the friendship that you make sure you have the permission first before you recycle their life traumas into a novel.
long ago I named the cat in this story Rosalind after Rosalind Alsobrook. And unfortunately, I figured out that the cat was going to die.
Oh,
Yes, but it was very important to the plot. And, honest, it really was. Because I hate that. And I didn't want to do that. But anyway, so I told her, and she was like, "You killed the cat?"
well, and didn't the readers say that to you? You killed a cat?
No,
No,
why
really?
makes me feel like it was reasonable, because I mean, it wasn't like I had some horrific, it's just the heroine was very, very closed off. And, when her cat died, she acted like it was no big deal, but inside she was a total wreck. And, the hero's like, it's okay to be upset that your cat died. And she's a doctor and she's like, well, people die all the time, what's a cat, yes, I'll miss her, but, and then she goes into the bathroom, you know, melts down.
Yeah.
So I guess that it didn't bother him. I don't know.
I see. I would be with the readers going, "Hey," because I had I was listening to a Dateline the other night, and they had this woman who killed another woman and was doing all these horrible things. Among the other things she did was she set a fire in her own house that killed the family pets. And I'm like, that's it. Pull the plug. She's a goner. I just, whoa.
I mean, this was really sad, but pets get cancer just like people do. You know?
I don't like that.
Well, I don't either normally. Like I say, I I usually don't do it, but that was that book, and I couldn't help it.
So did Rosalind ever forgive you
Oh yeah.
for
In
killing
fact,
her namesake?
in another book, I named a building after her last name.
Yeah.
And it up.
And you didn't blow it up? Oh, you did blow it up?
I did,
Oh,
but you knew that going in.
we're gonna have to do something that endures. Name a mountain after her or something that is not a volcano that can go. Poor soul. So, okay, let's come back. Do you have any childhood books that you were really significant to you? I often think that those are the ones that get us addicted on story. So,
Well, I always remembered the Velveteen Rabbit. That was
oh,
my favorites. Love
that's
that.
sweet. Then, did you read that to your kids too?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, the main one I remember reading to my kids was Goodnight Moon because I had to read it to my daughter 800,000 times. I mean, she loved it, but I got to where I could totally recite it, because one time we were somewhere and we didn't have the book, and I said, "Oh, I'll just tell it to you." Good night, Moon.
See, I'm an aunt, and I've been an aunt since I was 11, 12, something like that. So I would change up the stories, and they go, "That's not right." How do you know, kid? You can't read. I was a little wicked, and then I babysat, and I told these kids across the street. I don't know why I'm admitting this, but I told them, I told them that they had to go to sleep, or otherwise the germs came, and the germs were little men with bowler hats, and the only way if the germs got in their systems, the only way they could get them out was to stand on their heads, and the kids stand on their heads and have them come out the ends of their hair. So. So the mother comes over a couple days after I'd been babysitting and said to my mother, is there something I should know? Because her kids are trying to stand on the top on their heads. So yeah. Those are good kids. I like those kids. We had a good time. Okay. Most of us as writers have at least one bad habit word. I'm really afraid I'm going to run into somebody on these podcasts who doesn't, and then I will have to stop liking them. So don't be that person, Eve. Tell us your bad habit word.
Just and probably obviously.
Ooh.
Obviously.
Yeah. That's one you can really.
Then you have to go back and take it out. Well, if it's obvious, why are you saying obvious?
Yes. Yeah.
When you go back over it and you're going, why did I say that? That was dumb.
Sometimes I find clearly, and I will have the same reaction of, if
yeah.
it was clear, why are you saying clearly? To myself. So
a word, just a word.
Yeah.
Because you have to use those words sometimes. It's just when you use them, constantly.
Well, and I go through a phase where you just write. You just kind of blurt out the draft, and then when I go back and I do word searches for my bad habit words, and I take them out, and then I go back and read it again, and I'm often finding I'm putting some of those words back in because of the rhythm or the meaning or that they require them. And then if I do another read, then I'm taking them out again. So if I find myself putting words back in for the second time, I think, okay, I might have gone through this manuscript enough. I think you better let it go at this point. Yeah.
I do it specifically. I mean, if I notice that, I've used a word too much, I'll take it out or try to think of a different word or something. But mostly on that, I rely on my copy editor to say, well, you've used this 20 times on this one page, or something like that. But they don't usually say 20.
So because I'm an editor in my past life, I always feel like if the copy editor catches something, I tell myself they're doing their job, but I feel like I failed.
Nah, it doesn't bother me.
I wish.
It's something I really should have known. It's dumb, and I'm like, uh-oh. Why did I do that? Thank you for noticing.
Well, I do feel thank you for catching it, but then there's always the addition of why didn't I catch it?
Be close to your own work, I think.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And for a lot of things, your brain, they've done. I'm really interested in brain science, and they have found that we fill in so much that what we think we're perceiving is often kind of the old line from Lily Tomlin, a collective hunch, that we're just we aren't actually seeing everything we think we're seeing. We're seeing parts of it, and then our brains fill in the gaps, which I find fascinating. But that also means that when you're trying to copy edit, and especially if you wrote it, you know what's supposed to be there, so that's what you see.
Right. You think you've explained it clearly, and sometimes you have
Yeah.
not.
Well, and even I have a bad habit of from being years as a sports writer, I tend to type field when I meant filed, and I will look at it 10 times, and to me, I think it's filed, but in fact, I've typed field. You know? Yeah. So I shouldn't reveal that. I should keep my foibles. So yeah. Readers everywhere are going to be checking all my books for field where it should be filed. Well, if you find it, tell me, readers, please, and I will fix it. I will have somebody else fix it because I would probably retype field.
Yeah. I can't remember how to spell for some reason. They look weird. Like, probably I know how to spell it, but sometimes I look at it and I think that just doesn't look right.
Did you have a story? And not all writers do this, but I think a lot of us have. Is that especially from your pre-author days, that you didn't like the ending of, so you rewrote it, whether that was in your head or you actually rewrote it?
Yes, I rewrote them in my head, and interestingly, because we were talking about animals, those animal stories like White Fang and what's the one? Is White Fang the one where he pulls the sled across the finish line and dies?
Oh,
There's another one.
I think that's right. As soon as you started to say it, I got tracked onto Old Yeller.
Yes, that was Old Yeller. That one, any of the ones where it did not end satisfactorily for the animal, I was like, forget it. In fact, there's a movie that made me not watch Tom Hanks for 20 some odd years, Turner and Hooch. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh, I've seen parts of it, I think. I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing. The dog doesn't make it at the end?
The dog dies. I mean, he gets a girlfriend and they have babies and blah, blah, blah. But the dog dies. And my 7-year-old daughter watched it with us because we had no idea that the dog was going to die. And she was absolutely hysterical for weeks. I kid you not, weeks. And I did not watch another Tom Hanks movie for at least 20 years because I was so mad.
Okay, well, we got way off. Let's see. Oh, I must ask you. I have my very own desert island, and it has some peculiar rules because it has facilities for playing movies, but you can only play 3 movies forevermore. And that's all you can watch on this desert island. So which 3 movies are you going to select?
Can Lord of the Rings be one movie?
You authors are so sneaky.
Well, if it can, I want that.
Okay.
And if not, I want the 2 Towers with Aragorn and, oh my God. Yeah. So I could do that.
Okay, well, pick Lord of the Rings, so that's one.
Probably maybe The Last of the Mohicans, because it's just so pretty. I mean, it's tragic, of course, but it is, to me, it is so romantic. I mean, in the broad sense of the word,
Mm-hmm. As in the romance poets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you've seen it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So at the end, when the Englishman is saying, take me, and he's talking in French and they don't know what's going on. And, he basically sacrifices himself for the woman. And I hated him up to that time. And I was like, my God, he really does love her. Because it was very interesting to me. I every time I see that movie, I think about that and some other scenes. Of course, Daniel Day-Lewis, what can I say? Anyway, and let's see, one more. Almost Famous, because the music.
Oh, that makes sense. It's interesting because a lot of times when folks pick movies, I can see connections, and I can see connections between Lord of the Rings and Last of the Mohicans. I can the journey for if
Sure.
nothing else, and the challenges that they face. A lot less with Almost Famous. I guess there's a journey in a way. It's a different kind of journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting on your desert island. And if I let you only have one spice to flavor your meals on this desert island, what is that going to be?
Well, it's probably boring, but salt.
That's probably a safe pick, especially on a desert island. You could learn to
Yeah.
salt your meat just like the people from those
Well,
Last of the Mohican days.
you would have salt available from the water.
Well,
I did.
I did not say it was a seawater desert island.
It's an island.
I don't
What
know.
else is?
In a really big lake, like Lake Michigan, you could have a desert island.
Hmm, maybe. Not sure.
Okay. How about in my world? You could. Do you have any?
It's your world, so
Isn't that the best part about writing, though? It's our world.
I can do it if I want.
Do you have any quotes, motivational or upbeat quotes that you particularly like?
There's a Nora Roberts quote, and I won't say the bad word, but it's my top 3 pieces of writing advice. Stop whining and write. Stop screwing around and write. Stop making excuses and write. Nora Roberts.
All right.
So, yeah, and you can imagine what the word is. So. But yeah, I mean, I think we've established that I have a hard time concentrating sometimes, and so I fiddle around, and oh, there's something that needs cleaning, and oh, my office looks terrible, which of course it does all the time, so that's nothing new. But there's always something that needs to be done so that I can procrastinate a bit longer.
Well, now my question is, when you are writing, so you've gotten past all that and you're actually writing, do you come easily out of the writing also? Or once you're writing, it's hard for you to come out of the writing?
I'm in the world.
Okay.
Yeah. Very hard.
Then I'm not so sure that it's procrastination precisely. I think of it as inertia, and that because I have some too, that whatever I'm doing, I want to keep doing. And it's hard for me to switch. So it's hard for me to switch into writing, and then it's hard for me to switch out of writing.
Yeah.
So
what?
Call it inertia instead of procrastination.
I have inertia sometimes. But, it's funny to me that, say, I have, 15 minutes before I have to go somewhere. And I know I have to go somewhere. And I, of course, haven't written what I'm supposed to write that day. And so I sit in front of the computer and then I write really fast. And it's like, oh, okay. And everything's coming. And then I have to leave.
Yeah.
But it is like 10 minutes, 15 minutes before that I can get going. It's the pressure, I guess. I've been told.
Yes. I absolutely, I have exactly the same thing. I've always thought that it was deadline pressure.
I think so.
And maybe just the idea that, you can't make it up. Because it operates for me the same in other things in life, like picking up the house. If I should be picking up the house and I have a day, it'll take a day. If I should be picking up things around the house and I have 10 minutes, holy moly, I can get a lot done in 10 minutes,
Yeah.
So one of the things I wonder is whether I went into journalism, whether journalism helped train me to deadline, or whether I went into journalism because I needed deadlines. to let go of things.
That's not my reason.
Yeah.
I think I just write better under pressure. I wish I didn't. I really wish I did.
Well, it's better than not writing well under under pressure. So, you know, um,
Always go back and fix it. That's another quote is you can't fix a blank page.
yeah,
Well, you
yeah.
know, you can. I have a hard time with that sometimes though, because if I know that it's bad, I have a hard time writing it. I mean, I have to like, and then I look at it the next day and I think, why did I think that was so bad? That's not bad.
Isn't that a lesson? I think we all do that. And one of the early things I learned was never to throw anything out because delete it, big chunks.
Yeah,
Even if I think, oh, okay, this is not taking me where I need to go, I will cut and paste it into a different file and hold on to it for a while. And sometimes it just disappears, but sometimes it ends up back in the book. Sometimes it goes to a different book.
or place in that book,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah, I keep all that stuff. I mean, my final file with along with all the things I've taken out or changed or whatever, it's huge, huge.
I also think that a lot of writing is making decisions. And so when you start off, you can go so many different directions. And as you start writing and working through the book, that you have to make decisions and you have to let some potential aspects go. You can't
Yeah,
pursue everything. Um,
that's true.
and that is the slowest part for me, letting go. I don't want to. And that may also be where I can write faster when there's less time because I don't have as much time to whine. I don't want to let go. I just have to do it.
Right, exactly. It's forced decision making. I think
Yeah. Yep.
it's
Well,
good.
let me ask you a couple questions from writers. We'll start with a really classic one about where your ideas come from, and she very kindly says the ideas for our beautiful stories.
That's hard because they can come from so many sources. I mean, I can, number one, I can hear a song that reminds
Mm.
me of something, and I can, then take whatever that aspect of the song is, and that develops into a story, or a character will kind of pop into my head, and I'll start thinking about that. Usually, it's the guys because I like them. So newspaper, there's all sorts of, things you read in the news and stuff that it's like, huh, that would make a really interesting book. If you had that in there, or an occupation that's interesting, or, things like that.
So from that moment of, huh, that's interesting, then how would you start to shape that into a book?
Well, I have to talk a lot. I call my friends and well, I've kind of got an idea. And then, I go into it, and this goes on the entire book until they probably want to kill me. But, you know, and I finally get it hashed out, like, at the very end. But what happens? Like sometimes if I really don't know the person, I'll do an interview. And I don't do interviews like a lot of writers, what's their favorite color, what's what's the stuff, what's your, I don't know. I don't have any set question. I'll just ask them what I want to know. Like, why are you avoiding this woman that you obviously like? You know,
Oh,
usually tell me, shut up. Because they're all smartasses. I tend to write men that way because I live with them. So there you go. I don't know. I'm struggling right now because my book that I'm working on right now, I'm kind of don't really know the scenes and don't really. I mean, I have a vague idea of where I'm going. I'm not huge on plotting until I've gotten into it. um, and sometimes not dinner, which is an issue. But that,
Do you start at the beginning and do you write sequentially?
no, I used to. I used to always write sequentially, and then I got to where I couldn't, especially with that 3 time period book. I mean,
Mm.
I had to do each time period separately, and so I would just work on whichever one struck me that day. So, but yeah, I like to write sequentially because it's easier. Because then you don't have to go back and say, no, wait a minute, way back here I said this, and now I've said something else, and so I have to go back and fix that, and it's a pain. But no, I don't. In fact, I've skipped ahead to something in this current book. So
I find it interesting that you talk through the stories with your friends, because for me, if I talk about a book too much, which is to some extent almost any, my little rabbit monkey brain says, "Okay, we've told that one. Let's go do something else." So I've got to be really careful not to talk out the story and lose the impetus.
no, it doesn't really work that way for me. I have to figure it out, and I figure it out by talking.
Uh huh.
Time I'll talk to my husband, who will say, "Well, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard." And I'm like, just ignore that.
And you go,
Listen to
I'm
me.
going to use it anyhow.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, that's going to be boring. Just don't worry about that. I will make it not boring. But yeah, I see what you mean. And sometimes there are some stories I've started that just didn't go anywhere. I mean, they sounded good at the time, and then they just kind of fell apart. So
So,
I
what do you do with those? Do you hold on to them?
stick them in a file. Yeah.
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 And have you ever come back to any of those and rescued them?
Yes.
Ah.
Well, not the ones that are just that's not working at all, but the ones that I started on, and I had, say, a proposal, but it didn't go anywhere, and then I went back and developed it, and it ended up selling. I've had some books that I wrote that I ended up, after I sold, that I managed to rewrite and sell.
I have one story. The heroine's name is Shay, as in Shea Stadium.
Mhm.
And I'm convinced at this point that my psyche will not let me write that and finish that story, because I'm a Cub fan. So- and yet I can't change her name. I've tried. I have tried, and it didn't
Yes,
work.
that drives me crazy. I had one girl in a book, and I don't know why, but I named her Mary Lou, and then I decided I didn't like that. Well, I tried my best to change her name, and I could not change it. She was just, no, that's my name. Sorry.
Yeah. I've had a couple where they were secondary characters and you just sort of name them offhand, and then lo and behold, they had become
Well, she wasn't
main characters.
the heroine. She was the heroine's best friend.
But then did she get her own story later?
Not yet.
Oh,
I have one in mind for her, but no, I haven't written it because it's suspense, and it's big, long, complicated suspense, and I don't know. Those are hard.
well, this year I completed and published a book called Proof of Innocence that I swear I started 15 years ago. And it's like hot dog. and I thought, okay, these people are out of my head. But even as I was writing it, well, I knew there was a second book. There might be a third book. So it's like they're multiplying in my head. When people said, where do you get all those ideas? It's like, ideas are not the issue.
Yeah. Well, because anything can spark an idea.
Yeah. So from that spark, from your initial conception of what the story is going to be, then do you find it changes a lot in the process, or is it pretty true to that initial inspiration?
I don't know. That's a hard question. Um,
Well, let me ask you, maybe in another way, or you, that approach it. Do you have books that surprise you in the writing process?
sure. I mean, most of them surprise me at some point. Something will happen
Ah,
that I didn't expect, and I'll say, "Oh, huh." And like something will happen to the character, or something comes up that I had no idea was going to happen, and yet it happened. Well, that was like the cat. And I like cats. I like dogs too, but I like cats. So don't take me.
okay, okay. So things do surprise you, and
Oh, yeah. In fact,
yeah.
books, there'll be something that surprises me. And sometimes, somebody will come in. Well, in fact, in my current book, the hero's brother is really trying to take over this book, and he's not even in it yet. He's just being referred to, and I'm like, go away. It's not your time. But
Yeah, they don't understand that well, do they? Yeah.
keep knocking on the door going, well, wait a minute, here I am. You need to write my story. Well, I can't. You'll have to wait your turn. And they don't like that.
Another reader asks where you write your stories, if you have a special place, a favorite place that you write. And I love that she asks if it has an inspirational view. And then I'll add on, do you have a routine? Do you follow a writing routine?
I write a lot in my office. Well, we have a house in Texas and a house in uh, Colorado. And when I'm in Colorado, I like to go out on the porch and write because it's pretty and the mountains are there.
Mm.
It's just really nice. Although I do work at the kitchen table a lot because that's what I have to work on there. But in Texas, I have a desk and an office, and I write in there. And I have a window, but I close it most of the time. I used to look out the window all the time in one of my old offices, and in fact, one of my stories came from looking out that window one time.
So why do you not look out the window now?
I don't know. I guess. Well, it's partly because of the window. It's this like long window, and it kind of exposes me to the world and bugs me.
Mm, mm.
And the other was, just a regular window up high so that I could look out, but I didn't feel like anybody could really look in. I know that sounds kind of strange, but
No, I understand. When my first office when I was in Virginia looked out at the front of my house, I became much more productive when I moved my office to the back of the house, where yes, I could look out on trees, and yes, I would go squirrel, bird, look at the bird, ooh, but wasn't seeing people. So or cars or
right.
wondering why they were doing that, and oh, look at this, and so yeah. And my office now is on the second story, so I kind of see the tops of trees, um, and that works okay for me.
I thought
Some nature, but not too distracting.
I also have an office in our den with my chair, and I take all my crap in there, and my husband's like, "Oh, great." But sometimes I work in there.
Another readers. I'm going to pair these two. These are two different readers asking about how much does it bother you to find editing errors after your book goes live or is printed. And then another reader says when the cover image doesn't match the cover description, and she acknowledges that's a pet peeve of hers. How does it feel for the author?
Um, the cover image that is when I wrote for I used to write for Bantam Love Swept and Harlequin Super Romance, and I had a, I had a cover that was supposed to be set on the Texas coast. And yet it was set on what looked like a lake in Ontario. That's what,
How odd.
and I was like, this is in no way the Texas coast. I mean, it just wasn't. And that really bugged me. And then, and then they have, don't mean to rain on Harlequin, but then there was another one where the hero is supposed to be this hot guy, and she's like older than him, but not that much, like 5 years or something. And she has 2 little kids, and there's puppies in there. And so they have this guy and girl, woman and man, supposedly, who look like they're about 17. And he is so dorky. And then they have the kids who are cute, but so what? And then they have the puppies. And I was like, why couldn't they just put the puppies on the cover? Why did they have to put this guy? I got mail about that. It's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not my fault. Now, in an indie book, you have a lot more control over it, obviously. But I also find with 2 of my more recent publishers that they do a really good job most of the time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I love some of the covers, actually most of them. But one of them I did have a reader say, her hair is not black, and in the book it's totally black. And I was like, well, that was the best picture. I can't help it, Sometimes you just can't help that.
And that's something that a lot of authors who are indie have been talking about. There's limited choice in the photos, and especially some limits in not standard looks or not standard views of beauty or attractiveness. So if you write a character who's somewhat different in almost any way, it's really hard to find
what
images that reflect that.
Right now, it's hard to find a clean-shaven man. They've
all interesting.
Every single one of them. And it's like, oh, come on. Not everybody has stubble. But apparently on books they do. And I have this thing, if it's on the book, then I need to make the guy, at least try to make the guy look like that. And sometimes he doesn't, and it annoys me. Yes, it does. And as for errors, they happen. I mean, you do the best you can. Several people look at it. It goes through all sorts of processes, and you still, I in fact found one. I had done an indie book, and I made a paperback of it, and I looked at it, and I found a typo in the first page. I was like, thank you. How did that happen? So yeah, it bugs me, but again, there's some things that you can't really worry about. I mean, yes, if there's tons of typos and stuff, then yes, but I've been very fortunate about that, and I haven't had anything that had tons of them.
Oh yes, you can worry about it. It drives me nuts. So I do ask readers, if you spot things, let me know, and we will fix them. And that is one of the things I love the best about indie, that I will go back and change and fix things. And of course, the reader who spotted it, I'm very grateful, because you've spared other readers. I'm sorry you had to see it, but we'll keep getting better and better. And yes, because they drive me nuts.
Well, I don't like them either. I don't think anybody does.
Some people are more philosophical than others. I'm not very philosophical about it. So, did you find, when was your first book out?
1996.
And did you find that having that first book published, did that change your writing in any way, or your process?
Yeah, it became harder because, you learn more. When I first wrote, I wrote a bunch of books very fast because I didn't know anything, I just wrote and I really enjoyed it, but I don't know that. And then you have deadlines, and that of course changes things. I used to not do as well. Now I'm like I tend to, like we talked about earlier, I seem to need a deadline to actually get something accomplished.
When you say you didn't do as well, you meant you went past deadline, or?
No, I got them in on time, but I'd get burned out
Oh,
because I couldn't write as fast as I was writing without getting very long. Now I've been fortunate that I seem to have come to terms with it, shall we say.
how did you recover when you felt you were burnt out?
Oh, I took time off. I mean, at one point I took 4 years off because my
Ooh.
personal life was a mess. People were dying and all sorts
Uh,
of things, and I couldn't write. And so at that point, I thought I was not going to write anymore. And then I talked to Deb Dixon at Bell
mm.
Books, and that's where Cry Love came from. That was my first book back. And of course, I had to pick like the hardest book I've ever written. I mean, really, it was so hard, and I was like, "Why did I do this to myself?" I don't know. Guess I thought I needed the challenge. I don't know.
Well, once you got past that, other things looked easier. See?
Well, I thought that, but then my very next book was really hard too. So I don't know. They're all kind of varying degrees of hard, and but there is
Yeah.
that sort of the rush when you get a scene that you like and that's fun and it's going well and it's like, oh, yes, yes, yes. That's what I write for.
Yep. Yep. And all of a sudden, time has passed, and you go, "Wait a minute, what happened?" The thing that seems to happen to me a lot is I'll be writing away, and I'll be really engrossed in the scene, and I have no sense of time passing, and then the dog wants to go out, and I let the dog out, and it's like, "Wait a minute, I was in Wyoming in March, and it's it's now Kentucky in June, and this is wrong.
Yeah,
Where? How did this happen?" So,
because we're in book world.
yes, book world, absolutely. Now, do you celebrate any of your markers with a book? Do you celebrate beginning or ending or publication or anything like that?
I celebrate the ending when I write the ending or send it off or something like that, by eating chocolate.
Good plan.
And sometimes I'll go out to dinner or something. But and then when it comes out, I'm always really happy because it's exciting when a book comes out. It's like, oh, look, it's there.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. Finishing to me is much more satisfying than the book coming out. Maybe I shouldn't say that, because when the book comes out, I'm already kind of mentally into the next one,
Oh yeah.
and and into that book world, and it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of in my rear view mirror, I'm already moving on, but I should be better about celebrating. I like your chocolate idea. I think I may adapt that.
Chocolate, definitely. But
So,
I never celebrate the first of a book. No, no,
what's your relationship with reviews?
no. Love, hate. And you can guess which is which. I do. I like the ones. Well, of course, I like the good ones. Everybody does, but I like if it's a reasoned response, like this wasn't for me because of whatever, or something that doesn't sound like. I really don't like the reviews that are like, I hate this book. I hate this author, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. What did I do? And sometimes you can tell you've hit a bad spot to somebody, and but that happens. I mean, there are books I've read that, I don't like. I mean, some that are very famous that lots of people like. Um, but, it's everybody's taste. But yeah, I'd say love, hate.
Yeah, it's because to me, it's always the match between the author and the reader, and finding a good match.
I mean, not everybody's going to like your stuff.
Right,
They just don't.
right.
I mean,
And I think a reviewer who specifies their reading experience, good or bad, that's their reading
right.
experience. That's and because it's interactive, the writer puts it out there, but it's also what the reader takes from it. So you're totally. My view is that the reviewer is totally right in acknowledging their reading experience. I think the ones that bug me the most are the ones that are inaccurate.
Yes.
They slam you for something that is
It-
not
yeah.
there, or is there, and they say it's not there. And
Or
that's the journalist in me coming back and going, "That's wrong."
they think it's something like something that you actually do know about, and they take you to task for not knowing about it. And it's like, sorry, but I got this. It's frustrating because I live with a doctor who was a general surgeon and then a radiologist, and his father was a doctor, and my daughter's in medicine. And so, I try to get that as accurate as I can. It
Hmm.
can't be totally accurate because, being married to a general surgeon, they're never there. So that's not very romance oriented, even though we make them romancy, and that's not what real life is like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not. Um, I probably shouldn't say that, but because I do write a lot of doctors.
Another reader has asked, "Do you miss your characters when you finish a story?" And I think the reader definitely does. And do you think about them?
Often they are, they show up in other stories, not as hero or heroine, but uh, they'll have a part in another story. So yeah, I guess I miss them because I put them in other stories a lot.
What's your favorite part of writing? What's your favorite part of the process?
When it's going well, when it
Mm.
that, oh my god, this is so good. It's just wonderful, and then of course you read it later and it's like, well, might need some work. Yeah, probably that. And I like to read. I like to revise. I like to revise
Hmm.
my stuff, but when my editor wants me to revise, I don't always like that, even though they're generally right. It's sometimes it's frustrating, and then you think, well, I don't need to do that, and then you look at it later, and it's like, yeah, she's right.
Well, if you get stuck while you're writing, how do you deal with that?
Oh, I have a variety of ways. One of the ways is I do the interview, and I'll sit them down
Hmm.
and ask them what it is that I'm stuck on that I need to know. Or sometimes it's a simple, and it drives me crazy because it takes me a while to figure this out, but I need to change the point of view. And once I change the point of view, it starts flowing again. I'm like, oh, why didn't I do that before? Why did I spend 3 days, racking my brain?
Oh,
What's
interesting.
wrong? What's wrong? When I could have just done this originally. Well, I don't know. But, and then sometimes it's just wrong. Like, ooh, I had to take a bunch of words out the other day, and I hate to do that. And, and I had to take them out because it was wrong. And I saved it though, but I took it out.
So you put it in your save file
Yes,
and
I took my
maybe bring it back in at some
and
point.
started again went in a different direction, and it worked. So, obviously that was the problem. Um, and then sometimes I'll just stop and go watch a movie or something, eat chocolate.
if there are listeners who are not familiar with the phrase change the point of view, what we're talking about is usually you're seeing you as the reader are seeing a scene through the eyes of one character, and that's the point of view character. Yeah, I when I first started writing it, I wasn't aware of any of that, but what made sense to me was that if you imagined that you were experiencing the book like you would a movie, that you were who was the movie camera that was seeing everything in front of them,
Huh.
or around
I
them.
never thought of it that way.
And writing is like if you're in the woman's point of view, she is not going to talk about her dazzling blue eyes. And first of all, most women are more self-critical than that, but also she can't see them because she's looking out from them.
I know that my beautiful blue eyes are sparkling and wonderful.
Okay, so what is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like to answer? We haven't talked about research.
What drives me crazy is I'll go in to look at something and I'll end up, looking at what a herd of giraffes is called or something, and which has no bearing on anything I've been looking up. But and then I've forgotten what I was supposed to be looking up. But yeah, I like having different things to research. Like that book Cry Love, I had lots and lots of research on it. And the one I'm working on now is the third in a trilogy, and it's set at a private airport. And so, of course, I got to listen to all sorts of interesting things. Like, they have on the internet, they have on YouTube, they'll have like people talking about, there was one about a man who was flying a private plane in a private plane, and the pilot died.
Oh my God.
Died. And this guy had never flown a plane. I mean, he'd been in them a bunch, and it was in England, and it took them forever, and it was falling. It was about nightfall, and it was, everything you can imagine. And this guy was so calm and so great. And they took him and he landed the plane. And 2 weeks later, he started taking lessons.
Oh,
but
wow.
listening to them was just fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of that kind of thing. That was fun.
You have any great stories about readers?
Oh, yeah, actually, I have several. One of them that's always stayed with me was from back when I wrote for Love Swept. And the heroine in this book was big. She was a big woman. She was tall, she was big, she was not scrawny. And, it didn't really bother her, but and she wasn't fat per se, but she was big. She was not a small woman. And the hero, of course, fell in love with her anyway, and that didn't seem to bother him. He thought she was beautiful. And I really had to stretch on that. I had to talk to one of my friends who was tall because, as you said, I'm not. And so it was a totally different experience for me. And she was a different type person, than I had ever written. She was really nice. Anyway. But I had a reader write and say, I am so glad that the big girl got the hunk.
Oh.
And, and she went on and said a bunch of nice things, but, you could tell it would touched her, and that's a neat feeling,
That's great.
We know that not everybody is a size 2. So,
yeah,
that was nice. And then I had a few months ago I had something, I can't remember whether I was doing, it was something on Facebook, and I can't remember whether somebody was having one of those party kind of things, and people, you do your thing for 15 minutes and they come.
Mm-hmm.
And I had several people say something about, one of them said, I've been reading your books since your Love Sweat days. And I was like, wow, that's really, and
Yeah.
I don't know that readers know how much something like that means to us. To know that, they do read your books and they search for your books and they've read all or almost all your books. I mean, that's really neat to hear. And
That is.
and I don't
Yeah.
I don't know that they even realize that sometimes. But they are. We do. We love it.
I had early on in my career, I had somebody write me. I had a few books out because she wrote, I've read all your books and I just love them. And I wrote back and said, are you sure you mean me? And it could be. And I had a couple other authors whose names I thought were sort of similar. And she wrote back and said, yes, I mean you. Oh, okay. So some of us are better at taking compliments than others.
Wow, how cool. I'm always shocked. It's like, I still feel like a newbie, even though I've been published for a long time. But, I still feel that sort of wonder that somebody's actually read my books.
Yeah, that is amazing and wonderful.
Yeah.
My first book was out in 1990. One of the things that gets me now is with the indie authors is somebody's going, well, I've been around forever. I first published in 2011. And I'm like,
That is not forever.
that might have been the beginning of indie, but that was, that was fairly early in indie. Actually, there were people 09. So, that's when it took off. My first books were out in 2010, but there were people well before me in indie and online. But 2011, you're still a baby author.
Yeah.
Okay, and we've been talking about readers and stuff. Where would be a good place for somebody who hasn't read any of your books to come into your work? What are a couple of your books that would be good introductions?
Well, I have a couple of free ones. One of them is Trouble in Texas, and it's the first book in my indie series now. That's set on the Texas coast, and it's romantic suspense, but the books are a mixture. There's like 7 of them, and some of them are romantic suspense, and some of them are plain romance. And like I say, it's free, so that would probably be a good place to start if you like romantic suspense. And if that's not for you, the next one is called A Marriage Made in Texas, and it's not romantic suspense, but it's not free, but it's on sale. And
that gives people a choice.
yeah, and then also my newer series that I'm starting, and the first it's the airport one. It's called Devil's Rock Airport. And Devil's Rock at Whiskey River. And the first book is called Rebel Pilot Texas Doctor.
Wow.
And it's coming out June 14th. And you can pre-order it. So that's I think indicative of what I'm writing.
By the time the podcast comes out, the book will be out.
Yes. So. And it's indicative, I think, of what I write. And I'm working on I'm not working on it yet, but I'm going to be part of a new community set in Texas from Thule Publishing. And I'm going to be one of the launch authors. And it's my thing is called Doctors in Love.
And when will that be out?
Sometime in 2019, probably spring of 2019.
And what's the whole project, community called?
Last Stand.
Okay, great.
So Anyway, that'll be fun because, I love to write Texas books too. And then I have some set in Montana. Anyway,
Do you have for your regular readers? Do you have any books that I like to think of them as overlooked gems that maybe don't get as much attention as your other books do that you'd like to highlight to your readers?
Cry Love, which is really different, but it means a lot to me, and I happen to think it's a really good book. But it was my first book back from my long, what I thought was my retirement, and did not turn out to be this. And then I have that long romantic suspense called Last Shot, and it's, I don't know. I think it's a really good romantic suspense, and I loved it. It was hard, but and it was a story I had in my mind for a long time. Actually, those were.
So now my very favorite part, either ors.
Okay.
And rapid fire. Okay. I'm going to say opera or show tunes. Too bad. You have to pick one. Opera or show tunes?
Show tunes.
Paper plates or best china?
Paper.
Day or night?
Day.
Heels or slippers?
Slippers.
Appetizer or dessert?
Dessert.
House decorating or gardening?
Ew. House decorating.
Paint or wallpaper?
Paint.
Thank you. Pickup or sports car?
Sports car.
Really? That is okay. Hiking boots or cowboy boots?
Probably hiking boots.
Daisies or roses?
Roses.
Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream. Well,
maybe. Cruise or trekking vacation?
I think I'd rather cruise. I
got that. Okay. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Hot air balloon or train trip?
Train. Hot air balloon, the height.
Ah, okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics?
Well, I love them both, but probably winter.
Yay. Nail polish or bare nails?
Depends. I have bare nails on my hand and polish on my toes.
Ah, is that usual?
Yep.
We usually do. Okay. And this is the last one. Have the best first or save the best for last?
Save it. Save it for last.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Eve, for visiting with us and sharing your writing experiences. Really appreciate it.
It's been fun.
And hope all of you will come back next week to hear another writer and the stories behind their stories. Until then, I'm wishing you lots of happy reading. That's the show for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for joining Authors Love Readers podcast. Remember, you can always find out more about our guest authors in the show notes, and you can find out more about me at www.patriciamclinn.com. You can also send in questions to be asked of future authors at podcast@authorslovereaders.com. Until next week, wishing you lots of happy reading. Bye.
Hi, I'm Eve Gaddy, and my writing tip is if you're having trouble and are stuck in a scene, try to change the point of view and see if it works better.